Okay, for exercise of the week number 25, we came back to the lower body and we're doing the one-legged squat. I'm really a fan of this move for a couple of reasons. One, it's a great diagnostic tool. You can really learn a lot about an athlete's ability to accept weight into the hips and their ability to have range of motion in the hips. So it's a great tool for that. And then from a strengthening standpoint, the ability to independently strengthen one leg and then the other, I think, is becoming a lost art with so many barbell exercises done for the lower body. To perform the one-legged squat, place your hands on your hips, then take one leg and kick the heel up towards the glute. This forces you to now stabilize on just the one leg. Now the key to this move, and the mistake that a lot of people make, is they'll go into the knee first. They'll bend the knee and shoot their weight forward. Instead, you're trying to accept as much weight into the hip as you can. So your first thought should be to sink into the hip by pushing the pelvis back, so you're actually dropping into a squat. As you press, make sure you're pressing evenly from the heel and the front of the foot. You want to try and keep the foot as flat on the ground as you can. If you feel the heel starting to lift off the ground, that's a sign that you're trying to put too much weight forward into the front of the knee. Instead, really emphasize accepting weight down into the hip. Okay, Anna and Gracie are going to show us the same thing from a side view. They'll bring their right heel up towards their glute and now drop down into the left hip. And again, notice that they try to accept weight into the pelvis first, as opposed to just bending the knee instantly. The key is to try and keep the hip back as much as you can. Try and keep the foot as flat on the ground as you can as you drop down. And then we'll watch as they switch sides here. They'll put the right foot down, kick the left heel up, and again sink the weight back into the hip and press back up, keeping the foot flat on the ground. Notice they're also doing a real good job keeping the shoulders up. You want to try and keep your torso as tall as you can throughout the move. For a more advanced version of the move, elevate your leg up onto something. Like a weight bench would work good, a stair would work fine, a chair would work fine. Now as you drop down, this will do two things. One, it's going to force the athlete to do significantly more stabilizing of the leg that you're doing the squat with. You can also use this as a really good diagnostic move. Notice the movement that now occurs in Gracie's leg as she's going up and down. This will really help you as a trainer to start to identify strengths and weaknesses in your athletes based on the position the femur tends to go when it is loaded on. Alright, here's Josh doing the same thing. Now notice the difference in the leg. He's much more stable on his leg simply because he's been training with Train to Move for quite a while now. So we started to develop a lot of integrity in the hip. He's able to accept weight onto the femur without too much lateral movement in the knee and throughout the hip. As he continues to go up and down and switches sides, notice that he's pretty even as well. Another tool that you can use is to be able to see, is one hip stronger than the other? Is there much of an imbalance between the two sides? So one-leg squats isn't as dangerous as some of the barbell and weighted squats in regards to you're not trying to stabilize a lot of weight on the leg, but you can still find out the integrity and strength that exists in the athlete's leg and hip as they do the one-legged squat. I'm going to have Josh show you the more advanced move. Gracie and Anna are newer to this style of training. Josh has been doing it for a while. What you're looking for is to get an athlete all the way down. Notice that Josh is dropping below, the hip is coming all the way down to at least the level of the knee or lower. This is the goal of the one-legged squat. You want to try and get the athlete to have enough power and range of motion to be able to drop this far down. Again, this is one of our favorite moves for the lower body, but really avoid the temptation to try and add resistance to it. Until you have an athlete capable of collapsing all the way down and getting full range of motion in the hip, don't add any additional weight to the exercise. Anything prior to that and you put a little bit too much stress into the knee joint itself. So be patient, allow the athletes to be able to get full range of motion and power through the hip before you progress any farther with that. And next week we're going to go back to the upper body and focus on the upper back with exercise of the week number 26, the bent over row.